Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of STAFG. It's been a while now, so let me refresh you on the rules of the game. There are 10 questions. 10 questions. And each question is worth a fixed amount of money. First grade is worth $500, second grade is worth $1,000, third grade is worth $2,500, fourth grade is worth $3,500, and fifth grade is worth $5,000. If you answer the question correctly, you get the money. If you answer incorrectly, you pretty much lose it all. Now, there are 3 cheats in the game: peek, copy, and save, and you can only use them once, so you have to choose wisely. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the game. Okay, so I chose one of the classmates to help us, and one of his favorite subjects is cultural studies. And the question is, which country is most often associated with wooden shoes called clogs? And the choices are either Spain, Holland, Morocco, or Mexico. This question has never ever occurred to me before. So this is pretty much a wild guess, and if it's wrong, we'll get an automatic save on it. Now, if I can remember correctly, clogs are kind of like for us up here in North America, clogs are usually plastic shoes with holes in them, so that way like feet can breathe, oddly enough. And we usually wear them during the summer. But I never heard of wooden shoes called clogs. Now, Morocco and Mexico are kind of close to the equator, so it's most likely hot. I'm not sure about Spain. I mean, Spain might be a little bit cooler temperature-wise, and along with Holland. But, yeah. My best guess, I'm probably gonna go with Mexico, because I'm not sure if Morocco has trees. I mean, it probably does, probably doesn't, but my best bet's gonna be Mexico for sure. So let's go with Mexico. Ooh, and that's wrong. And we're getting our save, and he says Holland. Alright, it is right. Saved by a 5th grader. Although most Dutch people no longer wear clogs on a daily basis, they're still popular with farmers and planters. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So we won $500, but we still have $24,500 remaining. Not a bad start, but we're getting there. So the next subject I picked is U.S. history, and I think this is going to be a relatively easy question. And the question is, how many stars were on the first American flag? It's either 12, 10, 50, or 13. Now, if you remember, the Pilgrims came from Great Britain, the higher altitude places. Well, some of the higher regions of Europe, and they established the 13 colonies. So, if you put that into context, if there were originally 13 colonies, there would be 13 stars on that first American flag. And the answer is correct. Each star represented one of the 13 colonies. So that was pretty easy. Very easy. So we won $4,000, and we still have $21,000 remaining. So we're doing real good, actually, surprisingly. Let's just keep on going. So the next subject I chose is drama. And the question is, what is the slang name for an object on stage that amplifies the actors' voices? And it's either pit, mic, Jimmy, or box. Jimmy. I'd be surprised if that was actually the correct answer. an object on stage that amplifies the actor's voice. I think it's most likely, I think it's called a mic. I've never heard of an amplifier previously called a pit. Might have been called a box, but I could be wrong. But why would you name like an amplifier Jimmy? I'm just gonna go with Mike. So, alright, it is Mike. In modern theater, small wireless microphones are taped to the taped? Yeah. In modern theater, small wireless microphones are taped to the actors and broadcast their voices to a sound engineer. I think another way you can describe that, if you see, like, watch the news and you see like the news anchor sitting there, you can see like a little teeny tiny mic kind of attached to their shirt, so that way when they speak, the sound not only does it resonate going outwards, it also goes into the mic. Hear it on the camera better. So I picked another classmate to help us, and her name is Lisa. And one of her favorite subjects is social studies. And the question is, a presidential election is held every how many years? And it's either 8, 6, 4, or 2. Now, I took civics class last year, so I know the answer, but for those of you who don't know, this is what I've learned. Now, for a presidential election, happens every 4 years. So I guess you can say back in 2004 we had a presidential election. 2008 we had a presidential election. I can't remember who we had in 2004, 2008. But for sure, back in 2008 we elected Barack Obama. And then 4 years later, in 2012, we elected Obama again. So he's in office for another 4 years, which he can only run for a max amount of 8 years. And you can pretty much say that in 2004, 2008, and 2012, a presidential election is held every 4 years. So let's go with 4 years. And it is right. Did you know a president can only have 2 terms in office? Yeah, a term is 4 years. So if you were to be in office for 2 terms, you'd be in office for 8 years. You must be very popular to be elected twice. So another one of Lisa's favorite subjects is math, and the math question is, what is the sum of 5 and 10? And it's either 20, 15, 14, or 16. So the sum essentially means adding. So what it's really saying is, what is 5 plus 10? Or how many do you get when you add 5 and 10 together? This is first grade math, so it is obviously 15. And it is right. 10 plus 5 equals 15. Pretty good. So the next topic I chose is physical science. And this is going to be a tricky question in itself. And the question is, what kind of energy is light? And it's either chemical, electrical, electromagnetic, or kinetic. Now, if you were to think of the sun, I think the light resonating from it is like created from, the sun itself is just like a big ball of fire. So fire is kind of like chemical, because the sun is like made out of like hydrogen and helium and all that stuff. But when you look at the light, like in a light bulb or in a street lamp, it's electrical. Thing is, I don't think you can create light from like like that's electromagnetic. I think that's virtually impossible. It could be. I don't think a classmate can help us on this, so I think we're kind of left on our own. I think I am going to go, wait a minute, light as fire. I think that's like chemical, but light in it, like in a light bulb, is the electricity. Kinetic energy? Electrons in a stream. That could be a sign of kinetic energy. This is going to be really wrong unless we get the right answer magically. But I think I'm going to go with kinetic energy. And it's probably going to be wrong. What? Electromagnetic. Okay then. Not a good way to drop. So I picked another classmate. One of his favorite subjects is measurements. I did not record this, surprisingly. How could this happen? But anyway, one of the questions was, which the following is not an SI, which also stands for System International kind of unit. And it was either Fimo, Terra, Dece, or Micro. I've heard of Micro before, I've heard of Dece before. I think Terra might be also a unit, but I picked Fimo, and it was right. So just to let you know that. I'm surprised I did not get that on recording. Sorry about that. So the next subject I chose is astronomy. It's like one of my favorite subjects, of course. But the question is, the umbra is the name of what part of a lunar eclipse? And it's either the Earth's shadow, the sun's position, the planetary alignment, or the moon's color. And I'm sorry if you can't see part of the text. I do apologize for that. But, now, I think if I can remember correctly, I think an umbra is kind of like, so like in a solar eclipse, when the moon passes over the sun completely, sometimes you can see the sun's rays shine like around the shadow, and I think that might be called the umbra. And when we're dealing with a lunar eclipse, this is happening at night. Solar is during the day, lunar is at night. And I think the umbra could also be like the color of the pigment of the moon. Like in a lunar eclipse, sometimes the moon turns red. And some people call it a blood moon. But we still have peek and copy as an option, which I didn't use before, but I think it's best to peek at our classmate's answer. He likes astronomy too. And he says the Earth's shadow. Most likely it's going to be right. So let's go with the Earth's shadow. Let's go with that. Alright. A lunar eclipse can also be preumbrial which means at the edge of the Earth's shadow. These are quite rare. Interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. So we won $8,500, and we still have $7,500 remaining. So we are doing pretty good. So we're down to the last two subjects, and one of the subjects I chose is science, and the question is, machines and living things can convert stored energy to what? And it's either fuel, cold, I mean, spelling error. Cold, magnetism, or motion. Why would you convert something to cold? Machines kind of need fuel to get things going, but when you're dealing with living things, it's not necessarily called fuel. I think it's like if something is at rest, it's potential energy. It's kind of storing the energy. And then when you actually use that energy, it's called kinetic energy. And that's energy in motion. I'm gonna go with energy in motion. Alright. All things in the universe are in some kind of motion. Great. Really great. So the final question I chose is world geography. And the question is, which of the following places is part of the island that some people call Oceania? And it's either Samoa, Hispaniola, however you pronounce it, Tortuga, or Haiti. Haiti is part of North America. Hispaniola, the H word, is between, I think it's between Haiti and it's like an island divided into two countries. I have never heard of an island or a place called Tortuga, except for if you watch Wildcrafts, there's something called the Tortuga HQ, which is also like another name for a Pokemon, beyond the point. But Samoa, there's Samoa and there's American Samoa, so I am going with Samoa. Alright. Oceania is a geographical grouping of islands in the Pacific that people have begun to call the 8th continent. Huh. Very, very, very interesting. Well, we answered all the questions. I will see you in the bonus round. It is time for the bonus question, and the bonus question is life science. Now, I can either continue on or drop out. I like a good challenge. Whether I be right or wrong, I like to go for it. So let's continue on with the bonus subject, life science. Moss is an example of what kind of plant? I think this is a relatively easy one. I think moss is a kind of mold. Oddly enough, I think it's a kind of mold. Think that's how you spelled M-O-L-D. So let's go with that. I think I heard that's called a mold. What? And what is it? Non-vascular? I'm gonna write this one down so I can spell it. Non-V-A-S-C-U-L-A-R. What? Okay then. Not as good as last time, but I got a B minus. I am happy with that grade, to be honest. Pretty happy. Well, I guess that's it for this episode of STAFG. My name is Rebecca, aka the one Happiney, and I guess I am not smarter than a 5th grader. Well, see you next time. Bye!